there. Welcome to the Pruskop Podcast. My name is Megan Prusko, and I'm a residential and multifamily realtor here in Edmonton, Alberta. If you're looking to learn about fix and flips, this is going to be a fantastic episode to listen to. We are interviewing Jay Vettivel, who is a full-time flipper and GC. He shares his trials, triumphs, tribulations, tips, and tricks. I know that's a lot of alliteration. I couldn't help myself. But he shares a lot of really great experience and knowledge for you to learn from. If you're looking to learn more about real estate in general, then please let me know the kind of content you're looking for, but you just can't find. I would love to cover that for you. As always, please like and subscribe. It goes a super long way. I hope you enjoy the conversation just as much as I did. Welcome, Jay, to the Pruskop Podcast. I'm so glad you can join me this episode.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Have you ever made an error on a project that really sucked at the time, but in the end, it's actually saving you money or time?
A few, actually. One of the major landmines, I think, for a lot of new investors is nailing down your ARV. It's really critical. And that only comes with experience, right? The insight is that ARV is not just a sole comp. So I would say part of the biggest mistakes I made on the very first flip I bought, which I lost money on, it was a single car garage. And that was a massive hit on the ARV for me. And that's how I, for the most part, ended up losing money on that deal. One of the actual buyers, they had a third-party appraisal from the bank sent out to the property. And the appraiser came back and he took off $43,000 from a comp because it was a single car garage compared to a double car garage.
Communities all have different caps for what you can get for them for ARV. What neighborhoods are really elastic with what you can get for ARV versus pretty set?
The premier A-class neighborhoods, right? So like Parkview, Laurier Heights, those neighborhoods will do really well for flips. On the south side, you have Aspen Gardens. For the most part, west end of Edmonton does really well, like Glenora, Laurier Heights, in and around there, adjacent to all those neighborhoods hugging the river valley there. On the south side, predominantly most of them will do well. Majority of those properties, their neighborhoods will do really well. Where I would see a hard cap would be, even though it's a great neighborhoods, Bonnie-Doon, for example, actually is a great example for that. Right, Bonnie-Doon, Artwell, Holyrood, Strathern, all of those neighborhoods are fantastic for flips, but you do have a ceiling on them as well. The easy way to determine that is when you list your property, does it look like a sore thumb sticking out?
What was the most successful flip you've done, and what was the least successful?
The least successful probably was my very
Your
first
first
one.
one?
That I lost money on, which was a very painful experience. Lots of lessons learned on that one, actually. Ever since then, we started making more and more money. I've been more and more successful in my flips. We just closing on two, I think it should be wrapping up this week now, two flips, one on the opposite end of the spectrum as well. So one was like for Edmonton anyway, more high-end home. We sold that one for just over 800, 803, I believe.
Nice.
And then we sold a townhouse for 250 as well. So one on the
Where is
affordable
the
spectrum.
neighborhood of the 800 one?
That one was in Twin Brooks on the south
And
side.
what about the other one that you're doing?
That was in Millwoods.
What are you expecting to walk away with, like all expenses paid for your 800 versus your townhouse?
The net gross profit, let's call it that way. Townhouse, we're probably looking at just over 50. And for that one in Twin Brooks, we're probably looking at just over 60, close to 60.
That's really good.
Yeah.
Other flippers that I've talked to, they usually say on average, they expect to have right around 30K take home after all expenses have been paid.
That's more reasonable, actually. So I'm not going to make myself look like a genius. Honestly, I think we're just being helped by a really healthy seller's market right now.
Can you explain why you prefer the south side?
This is not a scientific answer, okay? But the path of development feels more like south of Edmonton rather than in any other direction. It's growing in the south, a little bit to the west end, a little bit to the north, but it's predominantly growing on the south side. You have Beaumont that's growing, Leduc that's growing, and you have the airport, and then you have Red Deers and Calgary on the south
Leduc is popping. Holy. What do you look for in a property? What boxes have to get checked?
Actually, I look at the other way around initially, right? It's easier to filter out properties by looking at what I don't like about that property and immediately dismiss it. For example, I don't do properties that backs onto the main road. Again, otherwise, unless the price is so good, then I will take it.
What about the structure itself? Like you mentioned, that double bay garage is something that dinged you.
Big time. So not backing onto the road is a big thing. Single car garage is a big thing, to the point where even if the house is great location, everything's fantastic, I would genuinely consider demoing, even if you built it last year. Besides that, what I look for in a property, again, if I'm doing like a more like a high-end upmarket type of product, I would look for square footage. You cannot substitute for square footage, right? Again, thinking about the buyers and what sort of people would be looking to move into the neighborhood, you definitely want to do like an ensuite. If I have the square footage, I would definitely turn one of the bedrooms into an ensuite. and a walk-in closet for the master, and give that bedroom back in the basement, right? Having open concept is really important. Having a big, nice kitchen, like a gathering spot for
Mm-hmm.
get-togethers is really important. Unique characteristics about that property. For example, if you have a vaulted ceiling, that helps a lot. Or if you have sometimes the split level or bi-level houses are really nice because they have basement windows above ground and they're big. So they already meet egress qualifications for basement bedrooms. So you have to cut concrete. That's fantastic. Saves you the money there. But it's just like lots of natural lighting, which is
Mm-hmm.
obviously you do want that, right? So it doesn't feel like a basement as much. Like things that makes a property that you have to have the vision for it. But when it's fully done, does it feel like a nice luxury upmarket kind of product, right? I keep using the word product, but really what you really want to do is not compete on price. So you don't want productized product on the market,
The
meaning you don't want a
productized.
cookie, you don't want to have a cookie cutter looking house on the market. When they walk in, they got to be like, wow. When they see the pictures, when you go on the listings, you're like, wow,
Hot
let's go check out
damn,
that.
look at this house.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you fall in love with the house, I guarantee you, you'll be more than happy to pay 10, 15, 20 grand extra for it just to get
Mhm.
that house because you fell in love with it. You would
Yeah,
pay
you
that,
were
no problem.
mentioning that layout's really important, but if I knew nothing about construction, I would say, Jay, why is layout important of the existing structure if we can just take out walls?
Right. So it's not just about taking out walls. One, it is true, you got to take out walls, but you really got to think about the floor and also the cost to do some of this work, right? I've installed structural beams all the time, and they don't always just work. It's not just about opening a couple of walls. It's really not like that at all. If in the listing, if the realtors have the floor plan up, I really appreciate that. And I really look at that a lot.
Hmm.
And I study it. So we have this here. What if we move this wall here and open up that space like this? And then we move the kitchen from where the dining is into where the living room is and make that the living room and this the dining room. We can do the layout like this. But then you got to think about it. But your main stack is over here. So if you're going to do the plumbing now, you got to put another stack down and trench concrete from here to there. But the basement's already finished. Do you want to dig up all your flooring now and cut concrete and run? So like that, it's a lot of thought process that goes into changing the floor plan and the layout to make the best, highest use of that space,
And then,
right?
of course, the price
And then
tag that
that
goes along with it
price
and
that
the
that goes with it.
labor.
So ideally, what I look for is if I can have the living room, kitchen, and the dining room all in one space, on one level, and sprawling, as open as possible.
A really common question I get from people in BC that are looking to buy here and do burrs or flips are actually about trees. If there's a tree on the property that you want to get rid of, do you need to get a permit or will you get a fine for cutting that tree down?
I guess it depends, right? I hate that answer, it depends, but I guess sometimes it does depend. But yeah, so if you have a boulevard, I think boulevard is the type of street where you have your lawn, sidewalk, and another piece of lawn as well, right? If the
Mhm.
tree's on that, it does not belong to you, technically.
Yep.
So you can't just go and cut it down. But if you have shrubs and small trees, I usually take them down. I don't have any issues with it. But sometimes you have like utility right away, right? You have power lines. Because if you're cutting the tree down, if you have a massive tree, you have to also grind down the stumps as well.
Yep.
You got to be careful, right? So you got to make sure you get the permits in place and you're running by the city just to be on the safe side before you take it down.
I was talking to an investor in BC, and he was saying that over there, if you're looking to redevelop or flip, or you're getting rid of the tree for whatever reason, that you need to get a permit for it. And if you cut down the tree without the permit, not only do you get a fine, the city will also, off the record, push your permit file to the bottom of the pile and they'll just ignore you. So some people there have been sneaky and they're pouring hot water on the tree roots to kill it because they might actually test it. They've done that before to see if you're intentionally poisoning the tree, but nothing will show up with hot water. And I don't know, that's just something that I found really interesting that I
That is
haven't heard of
interesting. Yeah.
here in Edmonton, but I get asked a lot, what about the trees? Can we cut down the trees? And
It's
I don't think it's
definitely,
really a problem here.
no, I think if it's on your land, like on your land proper, then ultimately you can take it down. I'm pretty sure 100% that you can take it down. If you want to clear the land and develop the land, you're allowed to do that. But the only thing is, the city does require you to actually do landscaping. So you have to
Mhm.
actually plant it back. You can take it off. You can cut it down. Let's say for infill guys who are looking to do developments, you can take it down, but you have to do landscaping, part of all the grading for the soil and all that stuff. But you also have to plant back the trees. So technically, you're going to give it back, right? Obviously, you
Yes.
take an mature tree, planting back certain
Little things.
growth. In Edmonton, I don't think it's as draconian, but I don't think there'll be any issues for you taking down the tree ultimately. But when it comes to tree, that you pointed it out, it's really important that I always do pay attention in these mature neighborhoods. If they have a massive tree in the front, I always do a sewer scope
Yes.
because these true trees, obviously old growth, they have deep roots, and a lot of times these sewer lines back in the days they have clay pipes, and they collapse the clay pipes. right?
Yeah.
So you have sewer backing
Or
up into the
tar
house as
paper
well.
lines. Like,
Exactly. So if you have a massive tree either on your lot or in your adjacent neighbors' lots, then maybe think about doing a sewer scope.
yeah, anybody listening that's looking to buy a property, I don't care what kind of property you're looking at. I don't care how old or new it is, get a sewer scope. Even the new builds, a lot of the sewer lines are not at the right slope, so the drainage won't work or construction debris will be in it. The ones that are
Yeah.
around 1950s, 1960s, 1970s, that's what we're talking about with the clay tile or the tar paper lining. They can collapse or tree roots can get into them. Like, always get a sewer scope. My guy, it only costs $200, including
Yeah.
GST. It's worth it.
100% worth it. Yeah.
It's 10 to 15 grand to replace those and a huge pain as well.
Yeah. No, it's not fun experience. So I would highly recommend that if you see trees in and around your property, then definitely get a sewer scope. But
So I actually want to run through the two properties that you have, starting with your 800K one over in Twin Brooks. What did you purchase that one for?
465, I believe.
465 and you're selling it for 800? Holy smokes. So you do the work yourself, but you also have some contractors that you work with and manage. So you GC your own flips, right?
Mhm.
Between labor and materials, how much ish do you think it would be?
I think that one we were into it for all in. I think we're looking at around 240-ish. Again, I think we'll know once we have all the numbers settled, the dust settles, right? But yeah, I think we're all into it for 240. That includes the holding costs, realtors fees, all of that, everything.
Okay, so that
Sorry,
includes all the rest of the costs.
no, just under the reno. So 1 second back. That one I know for a fact it was over 200 for the reno.
Just
Yeah.
for the material and labor alone?
Yeah. It's an extensive reno though, right? That's the thing. That essentially was turned into a brand new house, right? So
Yeah.
yeah.
And then you said you'd be walking away with roughly 60, you're estimating?
Yeah.
Like
Break even was I think we were all into it for I think just about 740. Right around 740. So we're looking at about 60-ish, 60 and some change all in.
And then what about your townhouse? What did you buy that one for?
Townhouse, that was actually my own lead. So from my own marketing, I got it off market.
Nice.
So the Twin Brooks, I got it on the market on the MLS. Townhouse, they reached out to me directly for my marketing campaign. And so I got under contract myself directly off market. And I got it for 140.
And then how much material and labor cost did you put in there?
Labor
Ish.
material, probably looking around just under 40.
40K?
Like 30, I think it's gonna be after appliances and everything as well. I think we're looking at 37, 38, give or take, around there. Yeah.
What consists of holding costs for people listening? What counts as that?
Sure. So look at the townhouse one, right? So your holding cost, well, strictly only holding cost will be your condo fee, your property tax, your property insurance, utilities, right? And then obviously your interest and principal, but interest on your financing cost. But that's strictly only holding cost. But on top of that, the full financial transaction cost would include also your realtor's fee, your lawyer's fee, right? Any adjustments that they do for the property tax when you buy and sell. But the realtor's fee, obviously, on the sale end, and lawyer's fee on buy and the sale.
And then that one you said you're walking away with your projected 40. Is that what you said?
No, we were conservative running our numbers because I always run my numbers conservatively. So I'm like, yeah, easily we can make 30K, but obviously there's room for us to make more, but we can make 30K, but we can end up making closer to like 50. I think all in we'll be into it for about 50.
That's
Right?
great.
Labor, all the holding costs, soft cost, like we call it the soft cost, and construction cost is your hard cost. So hard and soft cost, all in will be into it for just about 50, just over 50-ish. And yeah, so we'll be making a handsome return.
I've noticed some flippers, they don't touch the windows. They'll keep those old gross aluminum sliders in there. And then also they won't touch the garage or landscaping. How come those get left behind?
I don't. The Twin Brooks replaced all the windows. We even reframed them to make them modern, some of them. But yeah, we replaced all the windows. Windows alone, I think 17 grand or something. Garage is actually, yeah, it could be a money pit, right? Garage is one of those things you death by 1,000 cuts, right? Or garage, oh, here's a tricky one. Oftentimes these garages, they're separate, they're detached from the house, right? These 50s, 60s bungalows. The slab in the garage oftentimes is cracked. If it's cracked, it's okay. But if it's cracked and it's heaving bad, meaning like it's off by like 2, 3 inches, that's a lot to overcome, right? Some of these slabs I've seen are like really horrendously bad. And if you don't pay attention to that, now all of a sudden the end user, they look at it like the garage is basically in a tear-down condition. I can't pay for this. One way to do it, because I've looked into it quite a bit as well. I even talked to a couple of engineers about it to see if I can actually make it work. Just socket on the inside, like maybe a foot away from the footing on the outside. Socket inside, demo that, rip it out, and then epoxy rebars back into the old slabs and pour a new one.
What is something that you think usually new flippers will think it's worth spending money on that ultimately doesn't affect the value of the home or the perceived value of the home?
I think it's the opposite. I don't think they spend enough money.
Mm,
Most times it's not, what I've seen is not that, oh man, they shouldn't have done that because I think they just wasted the money. I don't normally see that. What I see is you're trying to ask top dollars, but you didn't do the work to justify the value that you're bringing to the market. Do you know what I mean?
thank you so much for joining me,
Thanks for
Jay.
having me. Yeah, absolutely.
Such a pleasure. Have
Okay,
a great night.
you too. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you again to Jay for joining me on this episode. He's a perfect person to talk about fix and flips, and it's just always good talking to him. If you're looking to reach out to Jay personally, then you're going to have to go through me first, but I'll be glad to make the introduction. Don't worry. Thank you very much for sharing your time with me. I really hope that you learned something, and I also hope that you have a fantastic day. Bye for now.